So I personally scored the fight a draw. If you had Jermall winning, I have got no complaints. If you had him winning by a decent margin, I can't complain too much because there were a lot of close rounds. But I think we all have to agree that it's a bit unfortunate for Derevyanchenko. This is the third time he has had a close fight and he has come off second best. I did actually have him beating Golovkin by a point. Not much, I know, but there we are. 3 really close fights. And now at 35, there's a good chance he's just going to go down now as one of the top fighters of the modern era who never won a world title. You know, the alphabet belts, you can get really whatever fighters who manage to grab one here and there. When I look at the quality of Derevyanchenko, he really has shown how good a fighter he is. To fight guys so much naturally bigger than him. Even Golovkin's a bigger guy. And Golovkin is not a big middleweight. Derevyanchenko is pretty small at 160. Do you remember how big Bernard Hopkins was at 160? And there's little old Derevyanchenko trying to hustle his way after a slow start every single time. But in fairness, you have to give credit to Jermall as well. He built up a nice little points cushion after 4 rounds, as we expected. Derevyanchenko starts slow. The right uppercut did not prove as much of a weapon as I thought it was going to. I thought he was maybe going to floor Derevyanchenko with it, really hurt him with it at some stage, maybe even get a late stoppage. But it was more the left hand, particularly the jab, that really did a number on Derevyanchenko's eyes. He looked a little bit like the first Rocky, didn't he? Purple blotches over both eyes. And with the size difference, what was apparent is that Derevyanchenko wasn't really able to mug Jermall in there. And it was kind of the same story with Danny Jacobs. When you've got a guy who's naturally so much physically bigger, you can edge rounds through activity, but you can't really beat them up. And it said it already when you saw Jermall sitting down with the Showtime host talking about his victory. He's barely marked. You know, maybe on some cards you did have Derevyanchenko winning, but when you look at the battle and what it's taken out of each individual competitor, Derevyanchenko is marked up. He is not going to be feeling good tomorrow. Jermall maybe look distressed once in the fight. He's virtually unmarked. And it's partly to do with the sheer contrast in the physicality of the two guys. Jermall is a much bigger man. And that's it. If Derevyanchenko could make 154, you know, hey, maybe his life would be a bit easier. And Jermall, as we know, might go up soon to 168. You know, again, it's clear. He's a much bigger man. One thing I would have loved to have seen would have been Derevyanchenko against Canelo. We're not going to get it now, no way. But Derevyanchenko seems to have something that Canelo hates, which is a really good pace and stamina in the second half of the fight. If there's one thing Canelo doesn't do very well, it's maintain a high pace. It really is Achilles' heel. And Derevyanchenko has the technicality to piece together his attacks and hassle somebody as technically good as Canelo. But we're not going to get it. Jermall and Jermall would love to fight Canelo. Of course they would. They would get paid very nicely. But I suspect Canelo is going to just palm those guys off for the time being. Maybe get a third fight with Golovkin. Jermall, along with Jermall, you have to give him a lot of respect now. He stuck in there. There was some nice variety with the left hand. He's patient, as is his twin brother, and he's done pretty well out there, hasn't he?